Welcome to This Week from Blue Mountain Broadcasting. I'm Lynelle Ellis, your host, and I'm very glad that you tuned into the program today. Stay tuned because I am going to be interviewing Josie Baird-Nye, Development Director for Walla Walla Valley Academy, and she's going to be sharing with us some exciting projects that are happening at this local school. And we have some important station news to share with you at the end of the program too. And right now we're going to begin with our devotional thought. And today I'm going to take you into the inside track a little bit with our devotional thought. We are working on some new guidelines for content, for programming here at Blue Mountain Broadcasting. We've got a committee that's meeting to work on that. We've met once already, and we are very, very interested on this committee in what the Bible has to say about sharing the gospel, spreading the good news. And so I've been doing some research, and I'm sure the other members of the committee are as well, looking at some biblical passages that relate to how we share the gospel. And so I'd like to actually share some of those passages with you today. Some of the ones that I've found helpful as we are getting ready to create these guidelines. And these guidelines are, yes, they're for content and for programming, but they're really about sharing Jesus. And it doesn't just apply to creating content standards for a television ministry. It also applies to sharing Jesus in our daily lives. So I think each one of us can take these personally and find something encouraging and instructive from them. So let's start with Romans chapter 10, verses 13 and 14. It says this, "For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. How then will they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how are they to believe in him of whom they have never heard? And how are they to hear without someone preaching?" So I thought this passage was really relevant and important because it kind of asked that obvious question. Yes, we want people to come to Jesus. We want them to know about him, to come into a relationship with him. But how are they going to do that if they've never heard of him? How will they hear about him? And so that gets to the very heart of what we're doing when we share content through television, later on an app, which is what we want to do here at Blue Mountain Broadcasting, on the internet, on Roku. When we're sharing that content, it's because we want to bring that message of Jesus to people. We want them to hear about him, to hear about God and his wonderful, beautiful character. And so that kind of obvious question, how are they going to hear unless somebody preaches to them, unless somebody tells them about it? So we know we're doing something that's really important. Next, let's look at 1 Peter 3, verse 15. "But in your hearts, honor Christ the Lord as holy, always being prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you. Yet do it with gentleness and respect." And the reason this passage really stood out to me as I was searching for passages that helped instruct us was that, yes, we should always be ready to share with people the reasons for our faith. And that's really talking about doctrine, isn't it? And the rationale behind it, and sort of the logic behind why we follow Jesus. But whatever we do, whenever we share those biblical truths, whenever we share doctrine, we need to be doing it with gentleness and respect. And we should never forget that. We must always remember to say things in a way that can be received by other people, gently, with respect for who they are and where they're from. So definitely want to hold on to that important thought. And this certainly applies to all of our communication personally with other people about Jesus as well, always being respectful and being gentle. Now let's look at this one, 1 Corinthians 9, 19 to 23. "For though I am free from all, I have made myself a servant to all, that I might win more of them. To the Jew I became as a Jew in order to win Jews. To those under the law I became as one under the law, though not myself being under the law, that I might win those under the law. To those outside the law I became as one outside the law, not being outside the law of God, but under the law of Christ, that I might win those outside the law. To the weak I became weak, that I might win the weak. I have become all things to all people, that by all means I might save some. I do it all for the sake of the gospel, that I may share with them in its blessings. This is actually, in some ways, a favorite passage of mine, because it really shows Paul's passion for connecting with people. He cares more about sharing the gospel with them than about all the other things that can kind of come up around us in life, where we look at other people and we say, oh, they're so different than me in this way, or I don't understand why they would view things that way. Why do they like this when that really doesn't work for me? When, here's an example, that kind of music is totally not a blessing to me. And I have that experience. There's lots of music that doesn't bless me, okay? Even music with religious words that doesn't bless me. It doesn't work for me. And others that I really prefer and I like. I mean, I was raised with classical high church music. Maybe I can hardly help myself, right? But to be able to say, I will be all things for all people, so that by some way I might draw them to Christ, really challenges us to be more concerned about the heart of our message, the essence of our message, the essence of connecting people with Jesus, than with all the cultural things and all the tastes and likes that we might have that are around us, where we can get so distracted with those that we're not really able to be all things to all people. So that's a personal challenge for me. Here's another one, 2 Corinthians 5:11 through 21. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, the new creation has come. The old has gone, the new is here. All this is from God, who reconciled us to himself through Christ and gave us the ministry of reconciliation. That God was reconciling the world to himself in Christ, not counting people's sins against them. And he has committed to us the message of reconciliation. We are therefore Christ's ambassadors, as though God were making his appeal through us. We implore you on Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God. God made him who had no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. This is a very powerful passage if you break it down and explore it bit by bit. Jesus came to this world to reconcile us to God. And so the whole message that we have to share with people is also about reconciliation, about bringing people into a relationship with God. And I think we can carry that out into reconciling relationships with each other as well. How will we ever draw people to God's kingdom if we are contentious, if we're not in the mode and in the frame of reconciling, of drawing in, of loving people in to God's kingdom, finding out what Christ has done for us, making that appeal to them, and drawing them in closer to him. We have been given this job, it says, to work on Christ's behalf. We're the ones who get to carry the message to somebody else, this beautiful message of reconciliation. So when people say, can't we all just get along? It would be great if we really could. We don't have to agree on everything. We certainly don't. But we can be respectful and kind and loving and compassionate and draw people to Christ and to his kingdom and to his message of reconciliation. And finally, this is not a biblical passage. The final one I'd like to share with you comes from the writings of one of my favorite authors, Ellen White, who wrote over 100 years ago. She wrote some things that have been really meaningful to me in my spiritual growth and in my spiritual experience. And here's one that I've just kind of latched onto. It's from the book Christ's Object Lessons, page 415. Some of you who are familiar with her writings probably know this one already. This is what she says. Those who wait for the bridegroom's coming are to say to the people, behold your God. The last rays of merciful light, the last message of mercy to be given in the world, is a revelation of his character of love. The children of God are to manifest his glory. In their own life and character, they are to reveal what the grace of God has done for them. This is very powerful. It's like an unequivocal saying. The last message of mercy to be given to the world is what? It's a revelation of his character of love. That's the last message. And I know many of us believe that we are living in the very last bit of Earth's history, the last times, the final bit of history that's going to be in the earth as we know it before God makes everything new, before he comes again. And so here we are in that moment, in that last time, when what we need to be doing, this message of mercy that we need to be sharing with the world, is a revelation of God's character of love, so that they can see him, so that they can understand who he is and how much he loves them. And I pray that we won't get in the way of that our characters will be and our lives will reveal his love, that we won't be our old selfish selves that can just get in the way and become a stumbling block from people being able to see who he really is. That's a prayer for us all to pray, that we will have God's beautiful character in us, that he'll put it in us to shine out to other people, and that we'll be able to be part of that great commission of sharing his character of love with the people around us. I know that's what you want to do personally in your life. It's certainly what I want to do, and it's what we want to do here at Blue Mountain Broadcasting as well. All right, with those thoughts, let's take a break and we'll come back with the interview in just a moment. Welcome back. Joining me now is Josie Baird-Nye, Development Director at Walla Walla Valley Academy. Josie, great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's very exciting to be here today.
And there are some amazing things happening at what we call WAVA, or Walla Walla Valley Academy. Before we get into those, though, you're an alum from there, yes?
Yes, class of 2015, so it's very exciting to be back in a different role. And I keep thinking, I have an office back there, and I think, am I allowed back here? But I am. I'm an adult now, so it's pretty exciting.
That's neat to come back that way, for sure.
It is.
To a place that's important to you.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, you started doing some contract work for WAVA, a little over a year ago?
Yeah, pretty much a year ago, and it started really with marketing. They needed a new website, and that's what I do, and I've done that for a couple Adventist schools, and so I was able to help out WAVA in that way, and that really helps move into the development stuff because, as you know, a website is really important in pretty much everything when it comes to marketing. So
It is, and so you've moved on from just doing that project for them to work as the development director.
Yes.
Part-time work, but still, yes.
Yeah, so it's a big, exciting project that we're working on. It's called Embrace Our Space, and I'm guessing a lot of people who will be listening have been in the WWVA auditorium. It's a big community space, so we're excited about it because we feel like it'll benefit a lot of people, not just the students, but also the community. So
I think so.
Yeah.
It really is a fabulous resource.
Oh,
It's got a lovely stage, good amount. It's kind of like just the right size.
Exactly. That's something that makes me most excited about it, pretty much, is because the specific amount of seats that are in there, 800, is something that we don't really have in our valley. And so groups like the Walla Walla Valley Bands, they've been using it for a while, and I think they do weekly practices in there and quarterly performances. And right now those are free to the public, so it's like in December there were, I think, like 700 people there from the community, and they got to enjoy a free awesome concert there. So it's a really great space.
And we see plays there and all kinds of music concerts and just good things. Blue Mountain Television used the auditorium last fall for our special weekend. And however, that did highlight to us when we were there, even though it's a great space, some of the things, we can see why you're having a campaign, because there are some things that really need updating.
Yes.
What are some of those?
So the project is for 4 new improvements, and that is the flooring, the seating, the lighting, and the sound.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's been painted in there since, I think it was built 75, that specific area of WAVA. But not much has changed in the other departments. I mean, it's pretty cool because they did push out some of the stage, so it has like a more intimate worship feeling, which is really nice.
Yes.
And they enjoy that for Vespers and for chapels and whatnot. But the flooring needs to be redone very badly. And the seating, if you've been in there, I mean, it has that iconic orange,
It does, and it's also not as supportive as it used to be.
No, and some of them are actually
kind of falling
broken.
apart. Yeah.
And I had a student telling me yesterday that she's a senior, and 3 times since she's been here. Each year, except for this year so far, someone has fallen through a chair. So we're trying to fix that, you know.
Yes. So it'll be all new seats then?
Yes, yes. That's our hope. And then with the lighting and the sound, I mean, we're really excited about that because we've got such great performances, like I said, coming from students, but also our community groups. And so we'd like to be able to highlight their talents and to be able to hear them a little bit better too. So
yeah, for sure. I know that with the lighting, some more traditional stage lighting would be great.
Yes.
Yeah.
We really feel like that's needed. I attended the play in December, Pride and Prejudice, and the kids did great. It was awesome. But you know, we pretty much have just this overhead lighting, and it feels like it doesn't quite have that feeling, you know, that we'd like in a play. It doesn't
feel like the kind of performance space that you'd want to have for a play.
Well, it kind of feels like they could, you know, do the most amazing play ever, but when you don't have that support, it's not quite what it could be. So, yeah, we're really excited about that, and so are the kids. They're really excited. So.
And I know that I'm hoping the projector will be part of this whole upgrade.
You know, I think so, and that's a very important thing to
I'll put in my plea for that.
Yes, no, that's good.
It's just not. It's an older projector.
Oh yeah.
So it doesn't have the light intensity that to really see what's there like we would expect these days. So. Yeah,
well, that's an important thing. I wasn't part of the planning process for all of this, and I don't know exactly.
You can throw that in if nobody's mentioned it.
Yes, no, I think that's a great idea. I mean, we really want this to be completely updated so it can be ready to go and help host these new opportunities for WWVA.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Such a great space. So you've been responsible for that campaign. How's the campaign going? I think the end of the year was a pretty big deal for it.
Yeah, it was. So it's been going pretty good. The thing about fundraising, and there's a lot of behind the scenes, and especially at WWVA, because like I redid the website and whatnot, so there's kind of been this build up. So when I was able to finally launch the campaign officially in October during Alumni Weekend, I was so excited to finally get going on this because I've had all these ideas and whatnot. And yeah, the end of the year was great. Something that was really awesome for WWVA as we were part of the Valley Giving Guide.
Yes.
And that was our first time ever doing it. But we got 4th in the Valley for most raised for participating nonprofits.
You did. I kept going there because Blue Mountain Television was also part of it. So I kept going and looking, and I would go, oh, look at WWVA. They're doing so great.
I was surprised because I wasn't really sure how it would go. But it was really great, and it's such a cool program. I think, did you guys get the most donors or something?
In our category.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, we got something, most raised. Anyway, in our particular category.
And I different have have these different prizes that you can be part of. One week we got the most donors, and it's exciting because it's an extra $250 that you didn't have to raise. So, and through that we raised $131,000 for the auditorium.
Yes.
About $20,000 went to some other areas of WWVA, and then the match was about $8,000. So that, and also the previous fundraising I had done, like the golf tournament and alumni weekend and whatnot, we're at almost at $200,000. So for 3 months, that's really not bad.
Yeah. What's the total goal?
The total goal is $1 million.
Okay.
So
there's a ways to go still.
Yes, there is. And the thing that's kind of tricky about all this is the timing, because with the flooring, and the flooring has to go in before the chairs, right?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
And we need to put in the bid for that, and we really wanted it to be this summer, but we're probably going to have to wait till next summer to do the actual flooring and chairs. But one thing that we're doing that's kind of exciting, and it seems to be a really good motivator for donors, is if you donate $875 or more, you can have your name put on a chair. So it's kind of cool. Some people have done that.
Yes,
Yeah.
I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, it's been really fun, and we've had about 200 chairs donated so far. So it's it's pretty exciting. And yeah, for some people, like they'll put the name of their family name on it, the Blank family, the Baird-Nye family, or they'll put their name on it if they were an alumni. Maybe that's motivating. Or some people have done it in memory of someone, so it's kind of a nice, way to remember someone's.
So did you say it seats 800?
Yes.
So 600 more people could do this.
Yes. So there's good availability. One thing too that we're hoping to do through this remodel, though, is if you've been in the auditorium well, it's straight across. So we're hoping to be able to do a little curvature there
with the chairs.
Yes. So that way it's like, very focused on what's happening up front. And yeah, so it's going to
make it
really
even
nice
a nicer space.
Yeah. And we've done, it's been great. We've had some really good feedback from people like Mr. Gish, the orchestra leader, and he has done some research about like what backing is good, to help get the sound out farther.
Out.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah, for
instead of-
orchestras, that's really important, and
Oh,
for
yeah,
band too.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of good thought go into our planning. So that's helped me move forward confidently for sure.
Sure. This is probably, sorry, probably not the only project you're working on. Do you have some responsibility with alumni as well?
Yes, I do, and it's interesting to see how much that all plays into it. WWVA hasn't been able to have someone in the alumni coordinator position in a couple years, and so I kind of feel like I'm catching up. Our alumni weekend last year was a pretty good success, I think, for not having one from since COVID.
Yes.
And people loved it. It was so great to
They
get
were
together.
so happy to be back together.
Oh yeah, it was really special. But I really want to build and make that even better and have more alumni, because that's something that's really special about WWVA, is that because it's so old, from 1886 originally, it's like we've got such a great alumni network. So yeah, it's been interesting to see how this all plays together, and then the marketing as well. So sometimes it's hard to know how to split my time, but I have realized that it all really does build, to the next thing. So
it's all interrelated, isn't it?
yes, it really, really is. Yeah.
So the marketing is really how everyone's seeing WWVA, how they're perceiving it, what they can learn about it, know about it, and that ties in with good feelings about it, wanting to contribute, wanting to be part of it. Yeah.
And that's one thing that I've had to put aside, time to make sure I've got things for our social media and whatnot, because it's like you can't just, be asking for money every single day, which, there's so many cool things happening at WWVA. I want people to know about that too. Like, since I was there in 2015, it's been really cool to see some things that they've been able to add, like the agriculture class.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really cool. And I think the Gleaner, there was a story about it in the Gleaner recently, and it's like the nice thing on WWVA is it's pretty easy to promote, because we've got some really cool things. It's just people haven't really known about it because they haven't had someone letting the public know for a while.
Yeah,
so.
and my daughter took a homesteading class.
Yeah.
And at first she was like, I don't know if I'm going to be into this, Mom. And I said, well, you could take this, or it was another science. And she was like, yeah, I think I'll try homesteading. And she ended up really enjoying that class, finding out a lot of interesting stuff.
I know, it's really cool that they offer that. I think they might have just started it when I was there and I wasn't able to take it, but they also have an auto shop class that's really cool. And when I was there in the shop, it was like there were desks and stuff. They took those out and they put in where they can lift up the cars and look underneath. And one day I pulled into WWVA and it was cool to see Mr. Anderson out there. He's the teacher of the class, out there like working on the hood of a car, and there's like 5 or 6 students standing around. And so it's really cool that they're learning these like life skills as well.
Yeah, practical stuff.
Yeah, it's been
in
really
addition
cool.
to everything that they need to go to college if they want to, etc.
Yes. And something cool that I love about WWVA, and I love from my time there too, is that they've got so many fun trips and extracurriculars and whatnot.
Aren't there some mission trips coming up?
Yes, there are. They're doing 2 international, and then one I believe is going to take place in Kansas City. And so it's going to be kind of like an urban mission trip. It's going to be really cool. And so I feel like there's no excuse for a WWVA student to ever be bored. So
that's for sure, and with the music too. There's choir, orchestra, band.
Oh yeah,
just a lot going on.
Definitely.
Drama.
Yeah. And it's another thing about like drama that's really cool is since I was there in 2015, they've added musicals, which I would have loved to do. But so it's really cool to see them expanding, and now they have a praise group.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, it's a class.
Yeah. And that's what's so cool is and they really enjoy that setting as well. They've gotten some special lighting, and they use that, the stage that's a little closer.
The lower, closer part.
So it creates a really awesome environment, and I think it's a pretty big group.
Yeah, they have. I'm going to make a mistake if I say how many, but there are multiple groups that have their leaders, and that Sean Carpenter's teaching them.
Yeah, he's doing a great job. It's really exciting. And when I was there, it was kind of like, we'll just randomly sign up, and it was great, but we didn't have that kind of instruction that he's able to give, so that's really cool.
Yeah, so that incorporates a lot of different types of music that students can really learn to be proficient at.
Oh yeah.
Which is really great.
And that's why that space to us is really special, is because there's so much that can happen in there, and we just want to work to support that. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, Josie, exciting times at Walla Walla Valley Academy for sure.
I'm glad to be there. It's really fun.
And I thank you for taking a little time today to talk with us.
Thank you for having me.
And stay tuned. I'll be right back. Time now for Station News. You already got a little bit of news just with the devotional. I was saying that we've got an active content standards committee that's meeting. So I would really appreciate your prayers right now, because we're revisiting those standards for our content and our programming here at Blue Mountain Broadcasting, wanting to make sure that we are right in line with the mission that God has in mind for us and for this station. So please, your prayers on behalf of that little group are very, very important and valuable. Also, speaking of prayer, we had a really neat event at Blue Mountain Broadcasting at our Wallula facility, where we have moved in now. On Friday evening, this past Friday evening at 5:30, we had this event. It was a prayer walk. And we had several members of our community, some board members that are part of the organization, some volunteers from our organization, plus staff members who were there for the prayer walk. It was a lovely way to begin the Sabbath hours at the station, to walk through room by room, talking about the kinds of things that would happen in each of those rooms, and praying specifically for the people who will work in those rooms and the kind of work that will be done in each one. A beautiful time. We also enjoyed some lovely Sabbath evening food, some challah bread and some figs and dates and fresh grapes. It was really a lovely, lovely time. I'm sure we'll have some of these prayer walks again, and I hope that you can be part of one of those. Also, I have great news to tell you. We've got a final total from what we received through the Valley Giving Guide. Remember how we said there was going to be a match? Well, the final percentage that they were able to match was 11% bonus on top of what people had given. So your gift that you gave there was increased by 11%. And here's the number you've been waiting for. The total with the bonus, $64,475.90. $64,475.90. We are praising God for this wonderful gift. So thanks again for your prayers, for your gifts, for your interest in this ministry, and for watching the show today. I'll see you next time.